I belong to the low-energy group. The high school life of waking up at 5 and sleeping at 9 leaves me with only one wish, to sleep well. I can't be bothered to compete for favor. I'm sleepy, but my fake heiress sister seems to be bullying me, relying on her abundant energy. She's constantly jumping around every day, during the 10-minute break between classes. Instead of using it to sleep, drink water, or go to the bathroom, she insists on coming to argue with me about who our parents love more. At 10 o'clock at night, she climbs into my bed to provoke me, but I can't even open my eyes. Later, I couldn't take it anymore. If it's love they want, and mom and dad can't give it, then I'll give it. I'm a low-energy person. Bathing, washing my hair, and doing laundry are all big tasks that require special time to arrange. My favorite thing is to lie in bed alone all day, but unfortunately, I have a pair of eccentric parents who require me to clean up their mess every day. Finally, after my father went bankrupt running from his CS troubles and my mother disappeared while cycling to Tibet, our house was gone. Just as I was preparing to sleep under a bridge, the Gu family came to my door, claiming I was the real young lady. I stared blankly, feeling indifferent even if it was a scam, and calmly stated, "Oh, do you give money?" My brother also stared blankly, glanced at me, and said, "You can have money, but not love. I hope you can be quieter in the future. If there's something, we can discuss it. Don't cause trouble and scream behind the scenes." I hummed in acknowledgement, and he seemed quite pleased, counting the 5 million that had just been deposited into my card. I was also quite satisfied. However, on my first day back home, I deeply experienced what is called a hellish start, seeing the fake heiress, clutching her luggage and wriggling on the floor in the oddly decorated villa. I adjusted my glasses and turned to my brother, saying, "Is this some kind of special welcoming ceremony?" As soon as I finished speaking, the fake heiress jumped up and lunged at both of us. My brother skillfully dodged, leaving the fake heiress to kneel before me, clutching my thigh tightly and wailing loudly, "Brother, how could you abandon me? Don't you love me anymore? I'm not leaving. This is my home. Why should I make way for her? I feel like my eardrums are under attack." Seeing the fake heiress crying so hard that snot is running down her face, I sigh and softly say, "I don't mind, let her stay." My brother gives a strange look, showing a bit of disgust towards the fake heiress. "No, she can't stay, but the house is gone. Her parents' fate is uncertain, and she has nowhere to go." The brother was taken aback and proposed a new solution. "Then let her stay outside. I'll buy a house in Yunnan and have her move there." Yunnan, that's quite far from Beijing. I looked at my brother with some suspicion. His attitude was so strange. Before I could figure it out, the fake heiress jumped up again, pointing her finger at my brother. "Brother, if you drive me away, I'll die right here." Brother watched impassively as the fake daughter slammed her head against the sofa, followed by a dull thud. The fake daughter cried, "Brother, it hurts, woo-woo." After saying that, she cried while sneakily peeking at brother's expression through the gaps in her hands covering her face. Seeing her like this, she reminded me a bit of my previous dog, and I felt a pang of sympathy. "Let her stay." Brother's expression was serious as he spoke earnestly. "It's possible, but I hope you won't regret it later." I blinked, feeling a bit confused. Brother gave me a few instructions, saying that the housekeeper would take me to my room, and our parents would be back in the evening. If there was nothing else, he would head to the company, as there was still work to be done. Seeing the dark circles under his eyes, I shook my head, indicating that I was also tired and wanted to sleep. My brother was very satisfied with my attitude and, after bidding farewell with a smile, turned and left. Seeing my brother about to leave, the fake heiress pushed away the butler's hand and ran outside. I just watched as she stood in front of the car, trying to stop the moving vehicle with her body. Just as the car was about to hit her, she fainted in fear, and I quickly pushed her out of the way. My brother frowned and got out of the car to check. As soon as the fake heiress opened her eyes, she started tearfully accusing, "Brother, she pushed me, she wanted to kill me, you have to stand up for me." Ha! I tilted my head, feeling utterly speechless as I watched the fake heiress cling to my brother like a koala. My brother tried to pull the fake heiress off, but couldn't manage it, so he had to call over 3 or 4 bodyguards to pry her away. After my brother left, the fake heiress started wailing, making a noise as loud as a donkey. 1 minute, 10 minutes, half an hour, 1 hour, she successfully cried herself unconscious. I asked the butler hesitantly, "Isn't she going to the hospital?" The butler smiled and spoke sincerely, "Missin, I've worked in the Gu household for over 50 years. It's been especially tough in the past decade or so. I once seriously considered retiring. If it weren't for Mr. Gu's kindness in giving me this opportunity, I'd probably be enjoying the scenery in Iceland right now. As someone who's been through it, let me give you a piece of advice. Cherish the quiet moments with Miss Yao. They are rare. I was filled with doubts, tossing and turning in bed, unable to sleep. As if something was weighing heavily on my mind, there was no other choice. It must have been a matter of conscience. I got up and called 120, sending Guyao to the hospital. After waking up, Guyao seemed fully recovered, brimming with energy. You're linen, right? Let me tell you, Mom and Dad only love me. They won't abandon me for you. You'd better get out of here today. I hummed in acknowledgement and prepared to go back to sleep. Arguing with people is such a hassle. Just as I took a step forward, Guyao suddenly pulled out her phone and blocked my path. I glanced at the screen on my phone, which displayed a live stream titled, "Evil Sister Comes Home and Wants to Kick Me, the Little White Flower, Out." There was no one in the live stream. Guyao said with a smile, "Scared, aren't you? I'm going to cyberbully you." I didn't know what to say for a moment, thinking of the 5 million in my account, so I casually replied, "Then give it a try." Guyao was angry, and she was jumping up and down, expressing that she wanted to run away from home. That way, her parents and brother would definitely regret it. Then it would be a fiery funeral for chasing after her. I didn't pay much attention, but as soon as I stepped out of the hospital, the nurse called me. Guyao disappeared. The nurse and I stared in shock at the live stream where Guyao climbed over the hospital wall and ran 10 kilometers in a frenzy. The nurse was devastated, pointing at the phone screen. "What's wrong with your sister? She's still a patient. Is it too late to say I don't know her?" Probably too late. When I got home at noon and saw the 4 dishes and 1 soup on the table, I was shocked to see Guyao busy in the kitchen. "You walked such a long way and still managed to cook." She stood proudly with her hands on her hips. "Well, aren't you completely humbled? Mom and Dad will definitely prefer the dishes I make." "But aren't they coming back only in the evening?" "You're lying. I've been live streaming for so long. They must have heard about my running away by now. They must be so worried. They'll definitely come back right away to have dinner with me." I thought about the 3 accounts in the live stream. One was mine, one belonged to the nurse, and the other was a robot. In the end, the soup grew cold, but my parents still hadn't returned. I wanted to eat. I wanted to sleep. And I didn't want to act alongside Guyao, but Guyao wouldn't let me. As soon as I moved, she would tightly hold on to me. "I told you, they won't come." "Impossible. I'm going upstairs to sleep. I won't wait with you any longer." "No, if you leave, then we won't get to see Mom and Dad praising me. Their praise for you has nothing to do with me. To make you give up because it's too difficult. I've never been involved. And I don't want to compete with you." "Really? Nonsense. You just want me to let my guard down so you can trip me up behind my back." Seeing that reasoning was futile, I stood up, grabbed my bag, and prepared to stay at a hotel. With the help of 4 bodyguards holding Guyao back, I finally managed to leave the Gu family's residence. As I reached the hotel entrance, a group of people blocked my way. The leader, a young man, stiffened his neck and glared at me fiercely. "You're linen, aren't you?" I yawned and asked helplessly, "Is there something?" "Sister Guyao said you're a bad woman who stole her parents. She told us to teach you a lesson, to show you who's boss." I closed my eyes, sighed, and threw a punch directly at the person across from me. When my parents used to get into trouble, I've seen even more vicious thugs. To deal with a group, you start with the leader, beat them to within an inch of their life, and show them you're even more ruthless. I pulled out a vernier caliper from my bag and glanced at the group of people behind the boy who had frozen in shock. Just as I was about to make a move, they burst into tears, trembling and saying, "Blood, it's bleeding, someone's going to die, Mom, save me." I was dumbfounded and took another careful look at this group of people. Good grief, Guyao recruited a bunch of middle schoolers. I looked at the vernier caliper in my hand. Then at the group of kids in front of me who were trembling with fear and crying, and I rubbed my head in exasperation, saying, "Stop crying, I'll take you to get something delicious." To avoid getting taken away by the police, I led them to KFC, bribed them with burgers, fried chicken, and fries. A girl with red hair looked at me expectantly. "Sister, I also want a sundae." "Then I want one too," the boy I punched excitedly said. "Sister, since you punched me, I want an extra burger." I agreed. In my questioning, they told me that Guyao had sent them to intimidate me, promising them milk tea if they could make me too afraid to return. After hearing their account, I became even more puzzled. Gu Yao, a young lady from the Gu family, was actually broke. When my brother gave me 5 million, he was quite generous. Why does Gu Yao have to pool money with a group of kids to buy fried chicken when they go out to play? And she really has boundless energy. Walking from the south of the city to the north, covering dozens of kilometers every day, sometimes she runs from home to the riverside in the middle of the night, crying and shouting that her parents don't love her, and she wants to jump into the sea, only to end up at the police station. At most, the butler went to the police station 15 times in 1 month. After hearing this, I didn't know what expression to use to face the situation. After bidding farewell to these little kids, it was already 4 o'clock, and I thought my parents would be back in the evening. I took a taxi home. At night, staring at the new dishes Gu Yao had prepared, I slumped in my chair, not wanting to move a single finger. Sister, why aren't you picking up your chopsticks? Do you dislike me? Gu Yao said in a deliberately sweet voice to our parents, and I didn't even want to respond. I should have performed well in front of my parents or pointed out what Gu Yao did this afternoon. But from taking her to the hospital in the morning, explaining to the nurse in the morning, to comforting the group of middle school students who were scared by me in the afternoon, the amount of exercise I've done today has already exceeded my limits. I didn't answer, and my family members didn't want to deal with Gu Yao either. Yao Yao, eat without speaking and sleep without talking. Mom, I prepared this meal with great care. Don't you have any thoughts about it? We haven't. Gu Yao was unwilling to give up and continued to direct her accusations at me. Mom, look at sister, she just came back and hasn't said a word. She doesn't care about you at all. It's good, a bit of quiet is nice. Seeing that her approach with her mother wasn't working, she turned to her father. Dad, did you see my live stream? I was worried you might not have dinner, so I rushed back to cook for you. Next time, there's no need. We have a chef at home. Father continued eating. Not even lifting his head, my brother sat beside me, noticing that I had nodded off 3 times, and softly said, if you're tired, go back to your room and sleep. I tried to force a smile, but my stomach chose the wrong moment to growl. I want to sleep too, but my appetite and my desire for sleep are at odds. Gu Yao glared angrily as I conversed with my brother, then she stood up and tried to overturn the table. She couldn't manage it and was momentarily embarrassed, but quickly, under our gaze, she reached out and threw all the dishes on the table to the ground. I laughed. Good, no need to think anymore. Time to sleep. I closed my eyes and began to sleep. Father's voice came from beside me as he calmly instructed the servants to clean up and have the chef prepare another dish. Gu Yao looked at us in this state and stomped her feet in anger. Why are all of you like this? You don't care about me at all. You don't love me, brother. Get up and talk to me. But no one paid her any attention. I miraculously heard my own snoring, turned over to find a more comfortable position, and fell completely silent. The next morning, I woke up in my bedroom bed. My limbs ached, and I struggled to sit up, my mind blank, not wanting to get out of bed, but I seemed to need to eat. After dawdling for about 10 minutes, I let out a deep sigh and finally forced myself to get out of bed. Descending step by step downstairs, then, a beautiful day began with Gu Yao rolling down the stairs. I stared in shock at Gu Yao downstairs, who lay on the ground, crying out as if staging an accident. Mom, sister pushed me. Does she not like me? Watching her act out like this, I started to regret it. I shouldn't have gotten out of bed today. My parents and brother in the living room were clearly used to this scene. My father was flipping through the newspaper, and upon hearing this, he merely glanced up before lowering his head to continue reading. My mother said lightly, Yao Yao, it's cold on the floor. Get up. Brother sat on the sofa sipping coffee, pointing calmly in the direction of the surveillance camera. There's a monitor at the stairwell. Gu Yao froze in place, clearly not expecting this. After a 2-second pause, she decided to go all out, pounding the floor and wailing, you all take her side. It was her who pushed me, yet you all speak up for her. I have no standing in this family anymore. She cried with a hoarse voice and all her tears and snot smeared across her face, as if she had suffered an enormous injustice. Looking at her like this, I felt an uncanny sense of familiarity. Stop crying, can't we just get along? These words were like pressing a pause button, and Gu Yao's sobs abruptly ceased. She glared at me, her eyes red. Linen, get away, I don't need your help. All right. Mom and Dad, I'm hungry, is there any food? Hearing this, my father put down his newspaper and instructed the servant, bring up breakfast. Dad, Gu Yao was in a hurry, scurrying over to him like a cockroach, grabbing his arm. Why do you take care of her and not me? Don't you love me anymore? You don't joke around. If the plane had an accident, you'd probably survive. Guyao was undeterred and crawled over to her mother to beg, Mom, my legs hurt. Can you help me up? Her mother didn't even look at her. Butler. Help Yao Yao to rest. The butler, who had been standing silently in the background, stepped forward expressionlessly. Miss Yao, please. Guyao sat on the ground, throwing a tantrum and complaining about her leg hurting. After breakfast, my father and mother had already gone to work. My brother sat down in the chair next to me, revealing a genuine smile. I don't have to go to work today. I nodded. It's indeed a good thing. We can have a good sleep tonight. My brother's eyes lit up. Quite agreeing with my statement, Guyao walked over, pouting and pulling my brother's hand. Brother, since you're off today, why don't you accompany me to play? I want to go to Disneyland. We should be able to get there by noon if we take a plane. Flying back tonight won't interfere with your work tomorrow. The brother's face immediately darkened. He pulled Guyao's hand away and said sternly, Yao Yao, did you have someone bully in yesterday? Guyao's body stiffened. She turned her head away and muttered softly, I only told them to scare her. I didn't want to hit her, and she's fine, isn't she? Brother, why are you only concerned about her? I ended up in the hospital, and you don't even care about me. My brother turned to look at me and raised his voice. If Guyao does something like this again in the future, you can call the police, and we will send her to prison. As soon as my brother said this, both Guyao and I were stunned. Guyao started crying. She bit her lip and, after calling her brother a big bad guy, ran off. I watched Guyao's retreating figure, my confusion deepening. She's not going to take your inheritance. She's just being raised here. Why make such a fuss? My brother didn't answer my question but instead asked with a smile, do you want to inherit the company? I wasn't entirely sure what my brother was thinking, but I was tired of all the scheming, so I answered honestly, no. I just want to be a rich second-generation heir. My brother let out an, oh, and seemed to deflate. What a pity. I thought I could be free. In my puzzled gaze, my brother began to explain to me, Dad, and Mom, none of us like to work. We just want to lie down and do nothing. A few years ago, they still had a little energy to spend with the kids, but when you were born, several uncles and their children died, leaving only father. Grandpa forced us to take over the company's affairs. So if you're willing, before my brother could finish, I interrupted, not willing, thank you, oh well. But you'll probably have to work at the company after you graduate from university. Grandpa won't let you off the hook. Why not ask Guyao? She'd be willing, wouldn't she? My brother let out a few bitter laughs and sighed. She's too stupid. Having a fool do group work and then having to fix it yourself is more trouble than just doing it yourself from the start. I kept a straight face, suddenly thinking of those foolish parents, and painful memories surged back. I didn't want to discuss this topic anymore and turned to ask, do you dislike Guyao? Brother immediately shook his head, no, not yet, I was just scaring her a bit, to keep her in line for now. She's not even 18 yet, so she can't get in just yet, of course, once she turns 18, if you report her and she ends up in jail, that would be a fitting outcome for her. Given her personality, it's only a matter of time anyway, I silently complained in my heart. It was really a stroke of luck for me and Guyao to have such abnormal parents. Even if Guyao went back, her biological parents were even worse, not only lacking love but also money. The Gu family just lacked love. No, it seems Guyao doesn't have money either. Why? What? Guyao seems to be out of money. Aren't you giving her any? My brother laughed, pulling me to the balcony and pointing towards the gate. See that? Guyao bought my sculpture online, a nude one. There are still 10 cows, 5 sheep, and 20 chickens in the backyard, and that's after eating some of them. Later, she didn't allow us to eat them or sell them, saying she had named each one and had grown attached to them, although her name has never been pronounced correctly. And have you ever seen a 200-inch suitcase? Yao Yao said that if she gets kicked out of the house, she'll take this suitcase and live in it. I fell silent. No wonder the house felt a bit unique in its decor yesterday. Out of fear for Guyao, I refused to transfer schools. After the semester started, Guyao actually followed me here. Seeing Guyao spouting nonsense on the podium, I helplessly used my Chinese textbook to cover my face, trying to deceive myself. But she didn't give me any chance. She rushed straight from the podium to my desk. Sister, what a coincidence. I didn't expect to run into you here. All the classmates turned their gazes towards me in unison. I painfully covered my face and began to think. is it possible for someone not to go to school? When I expressed this view, my deskmate laughed. She said, "You've thought this through, to take a leave of absence, you need to talk to the homeroom teacher, go through a bunch of procedures, and involve your parents. You're the top student in the grade. Do you think the teacher will let you go that easily, or are you planning to tell the teacher, I've made it big, I've got money, I'm not studying anymore?" And guess what the teacher's reaction will be? "Fine, you're right, sister, what are you talking about? You didn't include me. Do you not like me?" My deskmate gave me a strange look, as if to say, "What's wrong with your sister?" I sighed and asked helplessly, "Is there something you need, sister? Since it's the sports meet recently, I signed us up for the 1,500-meter event." "What?" I slammed my hand on the table and stood up abruptly, shouting in disbelief. Guyao put on a wronged expression. "What's wrong, sister? Don't you want to participate? Could it be that you're afraid I'll be more popular at school and steal your spotlight?" "Don't worry, I'll let you have the limelight. You, me, him, me." I almost couldn't catch my breath, feeling completely unwell, with everything going dark before my eyes. 500 meters. What does that even mean? For me, running 500 meters is practically the same as committing suicide. I need a year to recover. "Why did you sign me up?" I was extremely devastated, extremely confused, and extremely angry. Guyao gloated, "I want to compete with you and show our parents who is better." I took a deep breath, nodded, "All right, I'll compete with you, you go first." Guyao left happily, and I secretly found the class monitor to ask if I could cancel my registration. The class monitor said the list had already been submitted, "But you didn't ask for my opinion, did you?" Sorry, I'll treat you to a meal, don't be mad, okay? Just say you have a stomachache when the time comes, anyway. No matter how hard we try, we can't outrun the sports students. I agreed. On the day of the sports meet, I took leave. Guyao won first place. We were all stunned. Sister, look, I'm first. Too bad you hurt your ankle. So first place is mine now." I glanced at my slender arms and legs, wondering what made her think I could even come in second. Does she really think I have a chance to win? After the sports meet, Guyao thought my classmates would hate me, but everything remained the same. After all, it's high school, and a top-tier class at that. Everyone is exhausted, future prospects outweigh emotions, the college entrance exam is more important than health, and everything must make way for studying. But Guyao was like an outsider. Whenever the teacher asked a question, she would raise her hand to answer, but she never got it right. Every morning, she would change into different gowns and ask me if she was beautiful. At school, she asked who the school's heartthrob was, saying she wanted to date him. There's no campus hunk, no forum either, there are exams, but she can't beat me. I don't understand her thought process, and I don't really want to respect it. She even wants to discuss who our parents love more during the 10-minute break. Does their love even matter? It's better to get some extra sleep, so I'm planning to have Guyao see a psychologist. Although she's physically healthy, she definitely has issues, but Guyao doesn't want to go. So I had to ask the butler for help. The butler said, "Missin, the master once had Miss Yao see a doctor." The result was that she jumped from the 4th floor, unscathed, but scared the 2 doctors half to death. Later, we changed several psychologists, but the person who tied the knot must be the one to untie it. Mr. and Mrs. have done their best. Are you sure you can handle it? Of course I can't. I give up. I'll just run far away after the college entrance exam, anyway. It's not my child. I had intended to endure it, but I regretted it after Guyao crawled into my bed at night, grabbed my shoulders, and shook me. "What do you want?" "Humph, Linen, you stole my diamond Donald Duck." I laughed and slapped Guyao. Guyao covered her face and laughed, then rushed out, shouting loudly outside her parents' bedroom, "Mom and Dad, sister stole my things." And she hit me, listening to Guyao's accusations. I walked curiously to the bedroom door. I clearly remembered locking the door last night. Just as I was wondering what was going on, I saw Guyao kick open the door to my parents' bedroom and drag the 2 of them out. My parents were thrown onto the sofa, their breathing the only sign of life. Guyao shook her father's body vigorously. "Dad, wake up." Sister hit me. Her father did not wake up. I thought to myself, half-jokingly, that she must have taken sleeping pills. Guyao glanced at me, then went upstairs, barged into her brother's bedroom, dragged her still cursing brother out, and threw him onto the couch. "Brother, look at my face. Sister stole my things and hit me." Her brother laughed in anger. "Guyao, she hit you well, At 3 in the morning, people need to sleep. If you don't sleep, you're not human. Tomorrow, I'll throw you out and put you in a zoo. Let them see. Oh, a protected animal. There are only a few like you in the whole world. Why aren't you convinced? You come to me for a judgment in the middle of the night. How much would you have to bribe me for me to be brain dead enough to rule in your favor? Guyao looked wronged, as her brother pointed to their parents on the sofa. What are you looking at? Take mom and dad back. We still have to go to work tomorrow. Guyao was silenced by her brother, her mouth pouting, tears welling up in her eyes. But she dared not make a scene. She glared at me, reluctantly walked over to the sofa, and reached out to pull her parents' arms. She carried both of them away by herself. I lay down on the sofa, looking at my brother who was also lying down, feeling that I should think of something, but as soon as I closed my eyes, I fell asleep. After an unknown amount of time, I got up from the bed and next to me was a note left by my brother. He said he had taken 3 days off for me. I stared at the note, confirming that I wasn't dreaming before lying back down, after sleeping for a while longer. I felt something extra in my arms. It was warm and soft. I struggled to open my eyes, and there was Guyao, hugging my waist, grinning mischievously at me. Sister, I took a photo of you sleeping. You'd better listen to me from now on. I responded with a sound and continued to sleep, holding her. Guyao clearly hadn't expected me to react this way. She poked my cheek with her finger, not very hard. Hey, Linen, are you even listening to me? I have your embarrassing photos. If you don't do as I say, I'll post them online and let everyone know you drool in your sleep. I squinted and glanced at the phone she was holding in front of me. In the photo, my hair was messy, and I certainly didn't look presentable. But what does it matter, on the internet? Getting 10 likes is already a lot. If you don't create conflict, push boundaries, appeal to patriotism, or engage in abstraction, how can you get traffic? I want to tell her to post it directly, but I'm afraid she'll argue with me, so I closed my eyes and agreed. Okay, I'll listen to you. What do you want me to do? Guyao remained silent for a long time, long enough for me to fall asleep again. When I woke up again, I drowsily opened my eyes and saw Guyao squatting by my bed. I rubbed my eyes, let out a long yawn, and spoke in a hoarse voice. Miss, what exactly do you want me to do? I'll listen to you, but can you please stop disturbing my sleep from now on? Guyao was momentarily stunned by my insistence, fidgeting with her phone for a while before finally blurting out, then, come with me to the amusement park for a day. No way. I didn't even think twice before refusing. The amusement park is crowded and noisy, and we'd have to walk a lot. Then how about going shopping? I want to buy some new clothes. Not that either. Shopping is even more tiring than the amusement park. Then you can come with me to feed the cows and sheep in the backyard. I fell silent for a moment. Feeding cows and sheep shouldn't be tiring, and since it's in the yard, if you get tired, you can always find a place to sit and rest, which is much better than going to an amusement park or a shopping mall. You can. Guyao's eyes lit up. As brother said. Guyao really can't remember the names of the cows and sheep. You've already fed this cow 4 times. Try feeding another one. Really? I clearly remember I've only fed 7 once. I pointed to the cow next to it, exasperated. When you first introduced it, it was 7. This one, you first called it 4, then it became 16, and now it's 7 again. Clearly, cow 7 is missing a corner of its ear. Cow 4 has a flatter head, and cow 16 has darker fur on its back. How on earth did you get them mixed up? And just now with the sheep, you couldn't even tell apart sheepy and sheepy. Their eye color is different, for goodness sake. Guyao approached the cow she had been feeding repeatedly. She peered closely at the cow's ear for a long time, then turned to compare its features with those of the other cows nearby. Finally, she scratched the back of her head, looking completely justified. They all look pretty much the same, don't they? 4 legs and 1 head each. You and my brother are the strange ones. Why can you remember them the first time you see them? I held my forehead, feeling a wave of helplessness, something that could be remembered at a glance. Guyao was relentless, pulling on my arm and insisting I teach her. Linen, teach me. Why bother memorizing? It's simpler to just hang tags on them. Besides, they provide emotional value to you. Whether you remember their names or not doesn't really matter, right? It's just the name of a cow. It doesn't affect survival. Guyao's face was filled with distress. Linen, just like my brother, you're not at all gentle. Gentleness is a luxury that requires extra effort. which is why it's so precious. Me, of course not, but to save trouble, I reached out and pulled Guyao to sit down on the side. Guyao, how about we make a deal? You wish mom and dad would care more about you, but the issue is that they are busy and tired from work. So they don't have time. If you don't cause me trouble, once I graduate, I'll go help at the company, and then mom and dad will have more time to spend with you. There's no need to treat me as an enemy, our positions aren't opposed. In fact, I can help you. Guyao blinked her eyes, looking at me suspiciously. You're not lying to me, are you? And then you'll take mom and dad away from me. I continued to tempt her, saying, don't you have something on me? Guyao believed me. She tugged at my sleeve, smiling happily as she said, Linen, I'll make you something delicious, but you can't take my things. Okay, was this a bribe? But I'll be gone after the college entrance exam. Who cares about this trouble? I thought to myself silently. I finally got to eat the dishes made by Guyao at noon. Surprisingly delicious. It seems she has spent time on this. As a return favor, I marked all the animals Guyao keeps. After that, Guyao became my shadow. She seems to dislike being alone, even going to the bathroom with me. Most of the time, she chatters away, and I nod in agreement. For instance, she talks about how her older brother used to play games with her when she was little, but when she turned 14, he started working too. It was around then that she found out she wasn't a Gu family child. Brother has changed. He used to be so patient with me. Guyao rested her head on my shoulder and said softly, I thought for a moment, slightly putting myself in the role of a brother, and replied, maybe because he's at work. Isn't that just work? I was replying to my brother's messages even when I jumped into the sea. People are different. For example, if you keep pressing on me, I'm going to hit you. Guyao quickly let go of me and started massaging my shoulders. A month later, when I saw the number on the scale, my heart softened. Running away after the college entrance exam is one thing, but letting Guyao continue seeking attention through extreme methods made me feel a bit guilty. On the weekend, I started taking Guyao to see a psychologist. Following the doctor's advice, I found my parents and brother to discuss how to calm Guyao down with the least effort. Out of respect for the old age of the butler, let's spare him from frequent trips to the police station. With only half a month left until the college entrance exam, Guyao's biological parents came knocking on the door. Watching the two who looked like homeless people, I shielded Guyao behind me and skillfully stated, no money. Before they could speak, I continued, I also don't want to get involved. Don't even think about me solving the trouble you've caused. After saying that, Guyao peeked out from behind me and pointed at the two. Linen, what happened to them? I smiled. One was tricked into going to Myanmar. The other ran to Tibet to pray to the gods. Thanks to their sturdy build, they actually managed to survive and come back. Don't expect much from them. Hearing my words, Lin's father took out a bowl, reached it out to me, and said with a cheerful smile, and, you can't say that. After all, we raised you for a while, so give us some food. How about prison food? That works too. I glanced at them and ran to lie down on the sofa. After all, I'm just a child. Adults should handle adult matters. So just leave it to my brother. When my brother came home and saw this scene in the living room, he first froze for 3 seconds, then his temples started throbbing. Father Lin and Mother Lin were sitting on the floor, still clutching that broken bowl. Guyao was squatting beside them, curiously observing the specialty from Tibet that Mother Lin had brought back. And I lay on the sofa, scrolling through my phone under a blanket, looking completely unconcerned. What's going on here? There was an obvious weariness in my brother's tone. He had just finished a 3-hour meeting today and came back to deal with this mess, almost too exhausted to even complain. Keep it up, brother. If you don't care, your sister Ya will have to go to Myanmar too. My brother turned to look at me, but I walked straight back to my bedroom without looking back. Later, after the college entrance exam, I did pretty well. Just as I was about to grab my suitcase and make a run for it, Grandpa found me, and then I successfully ascended to become the heir. Seeing my brothers couldn't help but chuckle secretly expression next to me, I felt a bit regretful. I should have scored lower if I had known. Summer vacation. My wonderful summer vacation is gone. Who would let their 18-year-old granddaughter go to a new company for training, if he doesn't act like a human? Neither will I. You embezzled, so go to jail. You're too old, so retire. You don't know how to speak human language. Go back to school. This one is good-looking and gets promoted. This plan is too conservative. Change it. Vacations, max them out. You must leave by 5 p.m. As for human relationships and social etiquette, I only look at the charts, under my management. The company surprisingly didn't go bankrupt and is doing fairly well. As days went by, Guyao finally couldn't take it anymore. She stood in front of me. Linen, you haven't been spending time with me lately. I looked at Guyao with some suspicion. Isn't brother quite free recently? Why don't you go find him? Guyao was taken aback. She frowned, as if she didn't understand why she had come to find me either. I sighed, ruffled her hair, and said, if you don't mind the boredom of the company, you can be my bodyguard. Guyao accompanied me to the company. She sat obediently on the sofa, staring thoughtfully at my face. Before going home, she asked softly, Linen, will you stay with me for a lifetime? No desire to. Oh, I shouldn't have said that. Seeing Guyao getting drunk at the fried chicken shop, I felt a headache coming on. I think I should listen to my brother and give her less pocket money. Sitting next to Guyao, I once explained to a group of kids who wanted to buy KFC, Sister Guyao didn't drink much. It was just fruit wine. Really? I nodded, paid for their order, and added a few more fried chickens for them to take home. Stuffing Guyao into the car, she clung to me tightly without any politeness. Like a koala, the driver had been doing this for years and probably had seen all sorts of bizarre scenes, driving with a calm expression. The next morning, when Guyao woke up, she had completely forgotten about the previous night. Seeing me lying beside her, she was startled. Linen, why are you in my room? I silently looked at her. Guyao, let's make another deal. I'll take care of you for the rest of your life. But you have to be good, listen to me, and don't bite me. Really, when the opportunity arises, I'll flee abroad. I thought to myself, the end of the story. Next is the second story. My brother is a frail, antisocial antagonist with an eating disorder. In the original story, he was lured by the female lead with food like a dog, discarded as trash after she grew tired of him, and eventually starved to death in the villa. But now, he has me, a picky, greedy, hot-tempered, and vengeful younger sister with a sharp tongue. The food must be neither too bland nor too salty. The rice must be neither too hard nor too soft. Takeout is unacceptable, and instant food is out of the question. If it's not made by his own hands, it won't be eaten. He's the only one being targeted. When the capture girl confidently brought a lunchbox to my house, determined to train the gloomy little dog, she screamed and lost her composure upon seeing the burly man in the kitchen flipping the wok with ease. The 5-year-old scrolling comments were flying wildly, laughing to death. The mermaid in the pool turned into a megalodon, who wouldn't be devastated. When I opened my eyes from the hospital bed, the chaotic comments beside me made my head ache. F***ck. Wasn't the villainous sister supposed to die young? How is she still alive? Who knew that surviving would just make him a burden? The villain is now in his 3rd year of high school, and his parents died in a car accident last year. How could he possibly have the energy to take care of a sickly 2-year-old? Don't be so vicious. Upstairs, everyone knows CI treats his sister like his lifeblood, running to the hospital every day since her birth. Exactly, in the original story, after his sister died, he dropped out of school, with no parents and no friends. He didn't go to college either. He spent his days racing cars and skydiving until he broke his leg and had to return to the villa to wait for death. It wasn't until the female lead came with delicious food to win him over, so he could only eat and survive by relying on our she, this crippled wretch, right, and before going off the grid, he actually had the nerve to ask she why she abandoned him. My gaze fell on the words, full stomach. I turned my head to look at the delicate chain worth 20 million yuan in my hand. I smacked my lips in confusion. Why can't my brother have enough to eat? Is our family poor? Stop arguing, the villain is here. Damn, I have to admit, Xiaocijin's face is really top-notch. When he walked in, it felt like the ward got brighter. Broad shoulders, slim waist, long legs. The female lead really knows how to enjoy life. Sister. His gloomy eyes unexpectedly met mine, which were darting around restlessly, and he suddenly seemed to come alive. He casually tossed his backpack aside and strode eagerly towards the hospital bed, gently picking up the soft, tiny me. He leaned in and lightly rubbed his face against my smooth, tender cheek. The joy in the young man's eyes couldn't be contained, and the corners of his mouth threatened to reach the sky. Sister, you're awake. That's great, that's great. Warm liquid dripped onto my face, and the boy's slightly choked murmurs dispersed in the air. Big brother thought you were going to leave me too. The chaotic barrage of comments strangely fell silent. I grinned and playfully patted my brother's cheeks. Hungry, legs crippled, After undergoing more than a dozen checks, I was finally brought home by my brother. The doctor reminded him to feed me some meat porridge first. Hua hua, open your mouth. Ah. Xiaoxijin held a small spoon, patiently feeding me the meat porridge. I obediently took a sip. He couldn't help but curl the corners of his mouth. Sister is so well behaved. The next second, I opened my mouth and spat out all the paste. Drool mixed with kanji slowly slid from my chin onto my clothes, leaving a dirty stain. Xiaoxijin frantically searched for tissues to clean me up. The bullet screen exploded with comments. Oh dear, why didn't they put a bib on the child? Such a young kid is bound to get their clothes dirty easily. Why did the sister spit it out? Was it too salty? It can't be. The cooking auntie didn't add any salt. I told you she's a burden. She can't even eat properly. If you don't like it, get out. Don't block the view here. Did it burn you? My little dog spits out food if it's too hot. No. I saw Xiaoxijin measure the temperature with a thermometer before feeding it to my sister. Xiaoxijin frowned as he looked at the bowl of porridge in his hand. He had suffered from eating disorders since he was young, and there were many times when he survived only by intravenous fluids. It would be quicker to kill him than to get him to eat something on his own, but his sister just vomited up the porridge. After much hesitation, he still didn't dare to try it himself. So he waved his hand and had the butler, Uncle Zhao, bring a spoon to taste it. It's neither too hot nor too salty, soft and smooth, no problem at all. Young master, Xiaoxijin tried to feed me again tentatively. I took it into my mouth once more and spat it all out. His expression gradually darkened. He stared bitterly at the bowl of meat porridge, his emotions churning beneath the surface. The bullet screen was bustling with bets on whether he would actually taste the porridge. My flailing little hand slapped hard against his face. He let out a long, helpless sigh. With a look of resignation, he opened his mouth and swallowed a large spoonful of meat porridge. Before I could even feel happy, his expression changed, and he quickly stood up, running towards the bathroom. Even from the living room, I could hear him vomiting violently. When Xiaoxijin returned after washing his face, his eyes were red. Seeing my curious gaze, he still smiled and brought the spoon to my mouth. Hua hua, be a good girl, big brother just tried it, and it's really delicious. How about taking another bite? I stared at him, obediently took a small sip, and then spat it all out. The living room instantly fell into a deathly silence. The bullet comments kept flashing on the side. I hope his sister isn't also anorexic. Her frail body, just recovering from a serious illness, won't be able to handle it. Is the villain destined to be alone? Please, sister, just eat a bite. Your brother only has you left, and he's so scared his lips are turning white. Ah, what should I do? Can the female lead appear early to save the sister? Don't you like meat porridge? How about trying a different flavor? Xiaoxijin suddenly leaned over to kiss my cheek, forcing a smile despite his pale face. Brother knows. Hua hua, you don't like porridge with meat, do you? It's okay, brother doesn't like it either. How about brother makes something else for you? I calmly played with my fingers, ignoring him. Brother fumbled through making a bowl of pumpkin porridge under Aunt Lee's guidance. His intense nervousness made him subconsciously ignore his anorexia and first scooped a spoonful into his own mouth to test the result. Sweet and glutinous, soft and smooth. When Xiaoxijin extended the small spoon, his hand was trembling. Please, Hua Hua, don't develop a feeding disorder like your brother. Don't, leave me alone again. Uncle Zhao and Aunt Lee look at us expectantly, and the live chat is buzzing with requests and prayers. Meeting your brother's anxious gaze, I opened my mouth and took a small sip of the pumpkin porridge, pausing for 2 seconds before slowly swallowing it. Everyone let out a huge sigh of relief. Aunt Lee teased with a smile, oh, so the young lady only eats meals made by the young master himself. Brother relaxed his expression, smiling as he scooped up another spoonful to feed me. I tilted my head to look at him, my big eyes blinking as I stared at my brother, and the next second, the pumpkin porridge was spat out. The smile at the corner of my brother's mouth stiffened. The bullet screen that was just cheering and jumping with joy has now completely gone silent. Hua Hua, what's wrong? Is there something you don't like? Brother's smile was uglier than a frown. I stared at his spoon without responding. He clenched his fingers and thought for a long time. Then he picked up his spoon and took a big mouthful, suppressing the urge to vomit, and tentatively passed the small spoon over. Under the watchful eyes of everyone, I slowly swallowed the pumpkin porridge, repeated 3 times. I obediently swallowed the porridge every time. Uncle Zhao slapped his forehead, suddenly realizing, his voice trembling with excitement. Young master, the young lady is imitating you while eating. From now on, eat a few bites yourself before feeding her each time. And the young lady will eat obediently, the bullet screen whispered beside it. Huh, is it just me, or did the sister do it on purpose? Don't you think it's a bit off? When did the villain eat so much? It's almost as much as he eats in a month. Don't be ridiculous. The sister is only 2 years old. I think it's possible. Don't forget, this child was originally destined to die young. That's true. So, is she doing this over and over again on purpose? Fine, she dares to play tricks on me. Ha ha ha, that's great. Finally, someone can control the villain. He never thought that one day he'd have to kneel and beg his ancestor to eat. Don't. This trial and error will eventually cure the villain's anorexia. Then how will our Cece ever win him over in the future? How disgusting to say that upstairs. Why should Xiaozi deserve to starve to death just for the heroine's selfish desires? Exactly. Even the anorexia and both parents dying were set up to match the heroine's golden finger. How much more does the villain have to sacrifice? The bullet comments were in a heated argument. I leisurely grew up with my brother feeding me delicious food spoon by spoon himself. The day I started kindergarten at 4 years old, Xiaozi, a sophomore at the time, held me in his arms and cried at the door like a boiling kettle. Wah, my precious Hua, what will you do without your brother, Aya? Even though you're picky, greedy, short-tempered, vain, vengeful, and petty, I still love you so much. Wah, watching the suppressed laughter in the eyes of the people around him and his 2 troublemaker friends, and the bullet screen next to him that's already laughing so hard it's contorted, I gave him a hard knock with a stern face. Even though what he said was right, over the past 2 years, I've grown teeth and learned to speak. My palate has become increasingly picky. I won't eat dishes that are either too light or too salty, nor will I eat rice that's too hard or too soft. I don't eat takeout or instant food. I only eat what Xiaozi makes personally. Each meal may not be large in quantity, but it must be varied in variety, because I have a sweet tooth and crave whatever I see. Everything on my table is something he learned to make alongside Aunt Lee. If I'm not satisfied, I make him redo it, and if he's too slow, I even bite him. If he dares to be angry, I dare to ignore him for 3 days. Over time, he had to endure the pain, no matter how intense, but I'm always very polite to Uncle Zhao, Aunt Lee, and my brothers Qin Mo and Si Wang. It's just that I single him out for all the trouble. What can I do? On the day I learned to call him Gidge, he knelt down, crying his eyes out, and insisted on cooking for me for the rest of his life. I patted his not-so-thin arm, that was all honed through 2 years of being forced to taste dishes bite by bite and practice flipping the wok stroke by stroke. Brother, leave the lunchbox and go, study hard, and don't you dare go out with friends to race cars or skydive for thrills. Do you hear me? Okay. Xiaozi reluctantly rubbed his face against mine. But sister, you haven't said you love your brother the most today. I can't say it in public. I kissed him on the cheek without expression. Alright, get lost. Xiaozi left, satisfied, with his 2 troublemaker friends, arm in arm. When I started elementary school at 7, Xiaozi was in his first year of graduate school. Qin Mo continued to be roommates with my brother, while Si Wang had already styled his hair like an adult and taken over the family business. My brother made 2 new friends during the competition. The person picking me up from school changed from 1 to 3, then to 2, and finally to 4. Hua, my dear. Xiaozi waved his burly arms, excitedly running over to pick me up and give me a big kiss. It's been a week. Has Hua missed her big brother? I lay listlessly in his stiff embrace without speaking. Oh, what's wrong? Qin Mo curiously examined me. Who dared to upset our little princess? 2 unfamiliar handsome faces also leaned in, full of curiosity. Si Gu, is this the precious sister you always talk about? Xiaozi hummed, scooped me out of his embrace and lifted me high. Frowning as he looked at my red eyes and asked, Hua, who bullied you? Tell your brother, and I'll go get justice for you. I couldn't hold back my tears and asked him sadly, Brother, am I a bad child with no parents and no upbringing? As soon as these words were spoken, the 4 young men immediately darkened their faces. The live chat beside them had already exploded. Hua, don't listen to that little fatty blabbering nonsense. He's just jealous of your family's wealth. Tell your brother to beat him up. That's right. Tell your brother he was the one who snatched your notebook first and deliberately smashed your beloved ceramic teddy bear. Where there are naughty kids, there are irresponsible parents. those two foul-mouthed trash aren't any better. Wah wah, don't be soft-hearted. Tell your brother to get a lawyer to make them pay compensation and apologize. Wah wah, don't be sad. You are the best and kindest little sweetheart Auntie has ever seen. It's all the fault of that snobbish teacher Yang and that family. Exactly, afraid of disturbing brother's competition. Wah Hua didn't even dare to make a phone call when she was bullied. That family of scoundrels has become so arrogant. Brother's face was dark as he hugged me tightly. The five of us stormed into the principal's office with a fierce momentum, adjusted all the surveillance. Xiaozi Jin remained silent, roughly dragging the trembling young teacher out the door. Qin Mo and the other three sat in a row with me, clearly showing their support. Wang Li pushed the door open to find four of the five most elusive heirs of the major financial families gathered together. Only one person was missing from the Si family, the young master Si Wang. He inwardly cursed his misfortune, his body trembling as he was about to kneel and beg for mercy. But his older brother grabbed him by the collar with one hand and dragged him away. Qin Mo followed behind. The chubby boy who bullied me was so scared he burst into tears, while the middle-aged woman who pointed at my nose and scolded me for being ill-mannered collapsed in place. I hesitantly peeked out, only to be gently covered over the eyes and ears by my two new older brothers, who smiled warmly. The smell in the air gradually became unpleasant, with a strange metallic tang. When I opened my eyes again, the chief lawyer who often followed Si Wang's brother was smiling and greeting me. Hi. Little Princess Hua, long time no see. I never saw the little fat family who bullied me or teacher Yang with her nose in the air again, but I met the legendary female lead, Jiang Sisi. She confidently carried a food box, speaking with an air of condescending pity. I'm here to save Xiaozi Jin. Open the door quickly. Zhao Shu and Li Yi exchanged a glance but neither moved. They really are getting old, out of touch with the younger generation, unable to understand what's being said. Humph. Think carefully. Without me, Xiaozi Jin will forever remain that useless skeleton, wasting away in a wheelchair. Uncle Li's face changed on the spot. Where did this madman come from, daring to curse his young master's leg? Just wait until he, Uncle Li. I glanced at the already frenzied live chat, opened the door for her. The villa's gate slowly opened, and Jiang Sisi smugly curled her red lips. She could already imagine herself stepping on that beautiful, gloomy disabled puppy, playing with him at will, yet still being revered as a god by him. Once she had dealt with the villain, she would go find the male lead, Gu Yanwei. 2 years later, just as his younger brother was killed in a car accident, Gu Yanwei would lose his appetite and be hospitalized, and then her abilities would truly shine. This calculation is simply perfect. Jiang Sisi happily flicked her wavy hair. I quietly watched her stride confidently from the villa entrance towards the kitchen. In the next moment, the woman's panicked scream echoed through the villa. Ah, how could you possibly be Xiaozi Jin? The burly man in the kitchen, who was skillfully tossing a wok of stir-fry, scratched his head in confusion. That's right, who else in the Xia family, besides me, would dare to call Xiaozi Jin? The bullet screen was already going wild, laughing to death. The mermaid in the pond turned into a megalodon. Who wouldn't be devastated? The heroine is still dreaming of taming a dog. But the little puppy turned into a Tibetan mastiff. Ha 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 ha. Wah wah. Fish, go eat the sweet and sour fish the female lead brought. It's from the system, and it's incredibly delicious, right? Don't worry about your brother for now. Wah wah, go get some benefits. The fish is infused with healing power. It's sure to fix your easily sick constitution. My gaze silently shifted to the food box in the female lead's hand. 2 fish were laid out on the dining table. One is sweet and sour fish. The other is still sweet and sour fish. The brother and the female lead are arguing fiercely. My sister has only ever eaten the dishes I've made since she was little. She wouldn't even glance at your lousy fish. Where did this bandit come from, daring to compete with him for the position of his sister's exclusive chef? The female lead snorted coldly, refusing to back down. The dishes I make, even the most severe anorexia patient in the world would eat. It's not something that can be restrained by mere emotional blackmail. You dead bear. Not only do you eat so fat for no reason, but you also dare to challenge her golden finger. I took an equal amount of fish from both dishes with my chopsticks. Meeting my brother's resentful gaze, I blinked innocently and exclaimed with delight, Sister Cece's fish is so delicious. The female lead raised her head haughtily. My brother's body stiffened, and his face immediately fell as he turned his head away, clearly showing his displeasure. He needs to be appeased. I didn't have time to coax him, so I turned his head back, picked up the chopsticks, and forcefully shoved a piece of fish into his mouth. This is simply the most delicious thing I've ever eaten. Everyone should try it. Isn't it supposed to have healing properties? Who knows if my brother's anorexia will mysteriously recur later? Eat it. Uncle Zhao's leg hurts whenever it rains. Eat it. Aunt Lee's arm occasionally goes numb. Eat it. Driver Lin's throat hasn't recovered well after surgery. Eat it. Hua's waist was injured when he was young. I carried the fish and ran up and down the villa, besides secretly setting aside half for Si Wang, Qin Mo, and my brother. I even forced a piece of fish into the mouth of the dog next door. Seeing the plate of fish bones in my hand that had been licked clean, and the sweet and sour fish on the table that had only been taken a bite from, my brother was so angry that his eyes turned red, grabbed a 500,000 card at random for meal expenses, coldly dismissing the female lead with a straight face. As soon as he returned, he held me and cried like a train whistle, "Wah, my precious Hua Hua, do you dislike your brother now? Wah, that woman is only slightly better than me at making fish. What else is better than your brother? Does she have a brother who can stir-fry? Can she adjust the juice to be 4 parts sour and 6 parts sweet without using sugar? Can she cook rice perfectly in one go, neither too watery nor too dry? Ah! You said you'd only eat your brother's cooking for the rest of your life. You little ungrateful thing. You're abandoning your brother already, aren't you?" Sob, sob, sob. I sat stiffly in his arms like a doll, feeling like my ears were about to be deafened by his wailing. Uncle Zhao stood smiling beside us, watching my brother have a meltdown on the floor. I couldn't take it anymore and slapped my brother across the face. "Got it. I will never abandon you in this lifetime." Xiaoxijin knew when to stop, leaned in to nuzzle my cheek, and said contentedly, sniffing, "I promise, I'll only eat the food cooked by my brother in the future. I promise." It didn't help. 2 years later, I'd become obsessed with the starch sausages at the school gate. "Brother, I'll take 2. I tiptoed and handed the 5 yuan bill through the snack stall's window. The person inside didn't take it. The young man squinted his alluring peach blossom eyes, his voice pleasant. But the words he spoke were cold and heartless. "Not selling, Xiaoxihua, you've already had 8 this week. If you dare to buy more, I'll tell your brother." Damn it, how did he know who I was, a seller of starch sausages meddling in so much? I glared at him fiercely and turned to walk back to the car with great momentum. The further I walked, the slower I went. Weekends are off, and if I don't eat today, I'll have to wait until Monday afternoon. 5, 6, 1, 4 days and 3 nights. Within a 10-kilometer radius, Gugij makes the best starch sausage. I swallowed my saliva and looked up at the person who came to pick me up today. It's Si Wang Gij, the softest-hearted one, hee. 2 minutes later, I returned to the starch sausage stall, lying in the arms of my Si Wang brother, who had been coaxed with sweet words and couldn't find his way. With eyes sparkling, she looked at him as if he were a deity descending from heaven, waving his hand majestically. "By 10. The young man inside impatiently flipped his eyelids and calmly uttered 2 words, "Not selling." Ah, this despicable Gu Changchang. He pushes away business that comes to his door. No wonder he's the worst in the area. Just thinking about not being able to eat starch sausages for the next 4 days. My mouth watered so much that tears streamed down my face. Panicked, Si Wang hurriedly wiped away my tears. The young man across from us fell silent for a moment. Just as he was about to fry a starch sausage for me, suddenly, his expression changed, and he left his stall behind, running off decisively, ran away. I was waiting to eat, and he, a cook, ran away. I was so angry that I even blurted out the banned words that occasionally popped up in the chat. "Brother Si Wang, chase him, imprison him, lock him in a dark room, make starch sausages." My secret of sneaking out to eat starch sausages was eventually discovered by Xiaoxijin. The reason was that Gu Changchang wasn't just selling starch sausages, he was also an undercover cop tasked with capturing fugitives. That day, Si Wanga held me as he directed the driver to chase after him, inadvertently helping him by crashing into the van that was about to take his life. The criminal has been caught, he sustained minor injuries, is lying in the hospital, and is now repaying my kindness with ingratitude, babbling. Thanks to Miss Xia's lingering attachment to the starch sausage she made for me, Yanhe's life was saved. Mr. Xia, rest assured, once my brother arrives, he will definitely provide a reward that will satisfy you. Xiaoxijin frowned in confusion. What starch sausage? I was giving the other person a look so intense that my eyes were about to twitch. This blind man seemed not to notice at all. Mr. Xia doesn't know. Miss Xia loves the starch sausages I make at my stall near the school gate the most. I paused in my actions. Xia Zijin turned to look at me in disbelief. I guiltily looked up at the sky, down at the ground, and admired the scenery. The young boy's clear voice continued. She can eat 8 of them in a week. When Gu Yanwei rushed to his brother's ward in a hurry, he saw the usually decisive and tough head of the Xia family, holding a delicate little girl, sitting on the ground, crying sorrowfully with snot and tears streaming down his face. The young lady handed him a tissue with disdain, while shooting daggers at him with her eyes on the hospital bed. On the hospital bed, laughing uncontrollably, was her unfortunate younger brother. Instead of joining the family business, he insisted on chasing his dream of becoming a police officer. At just 18, he joined the police force, and his first case landed him in the hospital. He knocked on the door and smiled, saying, "Mr. Xia, hello." Xia Zijin immediately stopped his crying. He nodded coolly. "Mr. Gu, brother. Ha ha ha, brother, you're here." Gu Yanhe felt like his wound was about to split open from laughter. Actually, he didn't mean to expose the young lady. The boss mentioned that someone in the criminal gang had their sights set on the Xia family, with such a pure and innocent nature. If someone with ill intentions were to drug her and kidnap her, she wouldn't even have a place to cry. I never expected their sibling dynamic to be so entertaining. Haha, the two CEOs have already started discussing the details of the compensation. I glanced at the rapidly refreshing bullet screen. Hua hua, it's the male lead. It's Gu Yanwei, the male lead who later becomes enemies with your brother because of the female lead and relentlessly suppresses the Xia family. Wow, 3 top-tier handsome men with unique charms. The female lead really has good luck. The little brat, ah. Hua Hua actually saved the male lead's younger brother who was deliberately run over. What kind of destined fate is this? Huh, Xia Zijin is so big, and our Hua Hua looks like a delicate little figurine in his arms. So adorable. Give auntie a kiss. Darn it, I want to hug Hua Hua too and give her kisses. When can I get a chance to play an NPC? I'd even pay for it. Ah. Today is another day when I want Princess Hua Hua to be my daughter. I slowly blushed at the tips of my ears. I hid in my brother's arms, unwilling to come out, even though the live chat has been with me for nearly 7 years. Sometimes the enthusiasm of the aunties and uncles in it still makes me a bit overwhelmed, but I feel very happy, sometimes even joyful. They occasionally teach me what is right and wrong, showing their affection for me without reservation, arguing and bickering due to different educational methods, but always returning to harmony. Like Mom and Dad, the bullet screen disappeared. Without any warning, along with the female lead in the story, she completely vanished from my life. The last time Jiang Sisi appeared at the Xia family's doorstep, she still held a lunchbox in her hands. My brother stood guard at the door, not daring to let her in. "What are you here for?" Jiang Sisi rolled her eyes in exasperation, opened the food container, and got straight to the point. "Selling fish, 10 million. My brother let out a cold laugh, disdainfully saying, "Are you crazy from poverty or am I crazy from stupidity? You dare to sell me a frozen dead fish for 10 million? Jiang Sisi had no intention of arguing with this stupid bear. "You just need to ask Xia Zihua if she wants to buy it. Xia Zihua didn't die, so she couldn't win over Xia Zijin. Gu Yanhe didn't die, so she couldn't win over Gu Yanwei. Both the main and secondary missions failed, and it was time for her to leave. Fortunately, the property legally obtained in the small world could still be taken away. Although she didn't get the bonus, selling this fish produced by the system, she could still live a carefree life back home. She believed that the young girl from the Xia family was a smart person. As expected, when Xia Zijin appeared again, although his face showed confusion, he already had a card in his hand. "My sister asked me to ask you, if you save a little dog and then get tired of it, would you throw it away like garbage and let it starve to death at home?" Jiang Sisi thought for a moment and answered seriously, "If it were me, I would tire of it and discard it, but I would definitely leave it a way out, not letting it starve to death. If the system sends out a robot, it would indeed match the scenario you described. Oh, and for the sake of the 10 million, tell Xia Zihua, be careful, what's coming will come. She's right." Although my brother took every precaution, I was kidnapped at the age of 12. It seems I still cannot escape my fate. They were a group of cruel and greedy thugs. They pinned me down in the laboratory, discussing how to transplant my face onto another girl. let the new Xia Chihua replace me, providing them with a steady stream of funds from the Xia Corporation, with Xia Zijin spoil for his sister, as long as Xia Chihua insists that she has lost her memory due to fright, has been scarred on her face and throat, and occasionally pretends to go a little crazy, she will always manage to get by. When the mute potion was forced down my throat, I thought, fortunately, the bullet screen disappeared early, otherwise, those aunts and uncles would be so heartbroken, at least in their hearts. Princess Xiaoxihua always has the happiest ending. When the medication was injected into the vein, I was thinking, what if my silly brother never finds out in his lifetime? Not bad. At least they still need my brother to make money, so they won't harm his life. Let the foolish brother believe that he truly had a sister who lovingly accompanied him through his life. I always knew, you are the greatest spiritual pillar in Xiaoxijin's life. The more arrogant, noisy, and willful I am, the more at ease he feels, the more he feels the presence of a loved one, and the less he feels lonely. When the blade cut through the skin, I completely lost consciousness. Tears silently slid down the corner of her eyes. Remember to eat well, my silly brother. Almost simultaneously with my fall into unconsciousness, the laboratory door was blown open with a loud bang, and a towering figure filled with rage strode out from the smoke, just as he had done 10 years ago when he approached the tiny me lying on the hospital bed. When I opened my eyes again, I was lying on the hospital bed. A scruffy, burly man was silently sobbing beside me. Tears soaked my collar, and I twisted my neck uncomfortably. There was no response from the other person. Clearly, they had completely immersed themselves in their own world. What a fool! I slapped him without hesitation. Xiaoxijin flinched, and when he looked up, his eyes were red like a rabbit's. Sister, I opened my mouth, only to remember that I had been given a muting drug earlier. Decidedly grabbed Xiaoxijin's phone to type, holding the screen in front of his face, glaring at him. You smell bad. Xiaoxijin awkwardly sniffed his blood-soaked clothes. Ever since rescuing his unconscious sister a week ago, he had been by her bedside day and night, with no mood to wash or change clothes. Go take a shower, Xiaoxijin responded hoarsely twice, nodding haphazardly as he tried to leave. I grabbed the corner of his shirt. Eat properly. Seeing the unkempt stubble on his chin, I suppressed the sourness in my eyes and slowly typed for him. Brother, I'm here, don't be afraid. He insisted on coming over, stinking, and gave me a tight hug before he would leave. After being tidied up, Xiaoxijin finally looked like a living person. Hua, I've got those people arrested, don't worry, with the chief lawyer from Si Wang's family on the case. They'll never get out in their lifetime. I nodded trustingly. Xiaoxijin looked at my face, hesitating to speak. I wasn't worried about that, tapping on my phone and asking him, how is Gu Yanhe? He is also someone who would die early in the plot, and this time he participated in the rescue mission to save me. He had half of his leg shattered by a bullet, but fortunately, it can be treated. It's just that he might be a bit limpy in the future. However, he will do his best to provide compensation. So there's no need for Hua to bear the pressure, brother. Remember the fish we bought for 10 million, cut it in half, make soup for Gu Yanhe and me, and send the other half to the lab for Elder Pei and his team to study. There should be some kind of special healing effect. Xiaoxijin's gaze fell on healing, and with a blink of her eyes, she expectation said, Then, I smiled and nodded. Since I woke up, I haven't seen a mirror in the room. The attending doctor never mentioned the treatment of my throat, most importantly, my brother. The guilt and self-reproach in his eyes were almost crushing him. The clumsy brother I had painstakingly nurtured to be strong shouldn't be like this. 7 years later, the gate of S University campus. Xiaoxijin, do you have any progress at all? How old are you to still be crying? I looked at the man whose eyes were swollen like a sad frog, and while standing on tiptoe, I poked his forehead and scolded him. Hua, even your brother doesn't want to. But this is the first time in 19 years that you've been so far away from me. I'm afraid you'll get bullied like when you were little and be too scared to say anything, and it breaks my heart. Woo, alright, I'll call you once a week to report that I'm safe. Okay, Hua, what if I move the company to City S? It's too far away, and I can't rest easy. Alright, then, Hua, remember to eat properly. Same for you, I remember. So can we change it to reporting 3 times a day, morning, noon, and night, brother? Don't worry, I'll call you right away if anything happens. Okay, if I can't reach Si Wang, I'll call Yan-hee. I'd rather call everyone in the 6 great families until I get through, and I definitely won't let myself suffer the slightest bit of feeling wronged. Okay, then I'll be leaving. Remember to come back early during your National Day break. I'll be waiting for you at home. Brother, I want to eat sweet and sour spare ribs during my break. What else would you like to eat? How about braised fish and dash?